Dear students, welcome to the lecture on electric circuits by me, Mr. Manohar Suresh Edke, lecturer in Electrical Engineering Department from Brahmadev Dada Mane Polytechnic, Solapur. Today we are going to discuss about electric circuit subject, introduction of this subject and few bits of this subject. So these are the outcomes of the syllabus. Before that, I would like to tell you some more outcome of this syllabus. As an electrical engineer, you need to calculate different parameters such as voltage, current, resistance, impedance, frequency and other many more parameters. So, to calculate these parameters, you should know some principles and methods to calculate these parameters. So, it can be a resistance circuit or RLC circuit, or it can be combination of series and parallel of RLC components. So to calculate these all, you should know the principles and methods that we use to calculate these. So my suggestion to you to study this subject very well, because this subject and calculation from these subjects will be very useful to you in many different subjects such as electrical machines, power system, measurement. So this will be very useful to you if you understand and apply this knowledge thoroughly. And more, it will be very useful to you in engineering if you study this subject very well. So talking about point of view of syllabus, there are 5 course outcome. Each course outcome is related to each chapter. So first course outcome is for first chapter and second for second chapter. So first course outcome is troubleshoot problems related to single phase AC series circuit. In this chapter, you are going to study the voltage and current response of AC series circuit. In the AC series circuit, it can be resistance, inductance, capacitance or combination of RLC components in series circuit. In second course outcome, it is related to second chapter. It is troubleshoot problems related to single phase AC parallel circuit. In this chapter, you are going to calculate and troubleshoot problems in circuit elements who are in parallel connection. Means in parallel connection, it can be parallel connection of resistor, capacitor, inductor or combination of RLC. So moving towards third outcome, it is related to third chapter, troubleshoot problems related to three-phase circuit. You know that for residential purpose we use single phase, but for high power application or industry purpose we need three-phase supply. So we will also learn how to calculate three-phase parameters such as phase voltage, line voltage, phase current, line current. Such a parameters we can calculate in this chapter. Talking about fourth outcome, use principles of circuit analysis to troubleshoot problems related to electric circuit. Means in this chapter you are going to learn mesh analysis, nodal analysis. Means this is useful for a circuit where one or more electrical resistance, capacitance and inductance are connected. Means consider a circuit that consists more RLC component. So for the calculation of that circuit, voltage and current, for the calculation of voltage and current, you should use some principles. So such a principle named as mesh analysis, nodal analysis, you are going to learn in this chapter. So finally, the last chapter outcome, apply network theorems to troubleshoot problems related to electric circuit. Consider a very complicated circuit. and you have to calculate the current, voltage or other parameters. So in such a case, there are some methods, or we can say them as a network reduction techniques. In that technique, we are going to convert a very complicated network or circuit in a simple way, so that we can simply calculate the parameters such as voltage, current and impedance. So these are the outcome of these subjects. And one more thing, this subject will be very useful to you for other subject also. So study this neatly. So talking about marking scheme, you have total 150 marks for this subject. Out of this, 70 marks is there for your theory paper and 30 marks for your progressive assessment. It consists of 20 marks of average of 2 class tests and 10 marks for your micro project. And then PRESE, mean practical end semester examination, you have 25 marks, and practical progressive assessment also you have 25 marks for your manual. So it counts total 150 marks. This is good marks for your scoring your subject, and this subject is very important as well as very interesting. Means not only you are going to learn theory, but every theory you are going to apply. For example, you are going to learn AC series circuit. So not only you are learning that theory, but you are also applying that theory to solve the problems. That's why this subject makes very interesting. So now we will move to the first chapter. The first chapter is AC series circuit. There is a 15 marks distribution for this chapter. So these are the few syllabus points of first chapter 1.1 and 1.2. We are going to discuss generation of alternating voltage and then phasor representation of sinusoidal quantity. So this is the first point of syllabus, generation of alternating voltage. You know that in our home we use AC supply that comes from utility, and that is transmitted and generated from a generating station. So generating station can be thermal power station, nuclear power station or hydro power station. So from such a generation station we produce AC electricity. So to know how it generates AC supply, we are going to see how it generates AC supply. So consider a simple turn means there is only one turn. We keep in between of two magnets. Here you can see in this image, this is N pole and this is S pole. In between this we are keeping one single turn or a coil. So according to Faraday's law, you might have already this studied in FEE, Fundamentals of Electrical Engineering. Faraday's laws say that whenever a conductor cuts magnetic flux, then an EMF is generated across that conductors. This is the same principle we are going to use in this generation of alternating voltage. So we keep the coil in between these two magnets, then we rotate the coil in anti-clockwise manner. Then we will get the voltage across that coil or turn, as you can see in this waveform. So if I keep the coil in a horizontal parallel to the x-axis, then there will be no voltage generation. Then as I keep rotating, then a voltage waveform will start to generate. As you can see, at rotation of 50 degree of turn, it will generate voltage at this point. Then after rotation of 90 degree, it will produce a voltage magnitude at its peak magnitude or maximum magnitude. Then after continuation of rotation, it will gradually reduce and becomes 0 at 180 degree of rotation of turn. Then again continue, if we continue, then it will generate the voltage in negative direction, as you can see this. At degree of 270 degree, it will generate a maximum negative voltage, and as we continue to rotate, then it will goes and become 0. This cycle keep continues if we rotate the coil for continued time. If we are rotating this coil continuously, then we will get a continue such a cycles. So in our India, we have 50 hertz frequency, means this coil is rotated for 50 hertz, 50 times in 1 second. Means there are 50 rotations of these coils in 1 second. Then we will get the 50 hertz frequency. So this is about the generation of alternating voltage. One thing you should keep in your mind, that the principle behind this generation is Faraday's first law of electromagnetic induction. Means whenever a coil or conductor cuts magnetic flux, then an EMF will be generated across that coil. So this method of generation of voltage is dynamically induced EMF. Dynamically induced EMF means either we are rotating magnet or we are rotating the coil. So in this method we are rotating the coil. So this method is called as a dynamically induced EMF, and this works on the principle of Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So moving towards second point, representation of AC sinusoidal quantity. So we know the AC wave, AC supply from our that we get in our home. It is of 230 volt and 50 hertz. So there are three different methods by which we can represent AC quantity. So there are three methods. We will go one by one. So the first method is mathematical representation. You might written this many times. V of t is equals to Vm sin omega t. This is magnitude of voltage at a time instant, or it is called as a instantaneous voltage equation, and this is instantaneous current equation. This method of writing voltage is called as a mathematical representation of AC quantity. Means there is a AC voltage, then we can represent it as V of t is equals to Vm sin omega t, I of t is equals to Im sin omega t. Then this method of representation is called as a mathematical representation, because we are writing in mathematical equation. That's why it is called as a mathematical equation. So moving towards next type of representation, graphical representation. Graphical representation means we are graphically representing a quantity, a AC quantity. As you can see in this graph, we have represented a sinusoidal wave or sine wave. It starts from 0, goes to peak, becomes 0, goes to negative peak, then again becomes 0. This is a graphical representation. In this graphical representation, we show the maximum value of voltage, time period. This is the time period. This representation is called as a graphical representation. Means in first method, that is mathematical representation, we represent a signal with mathematical equation. Then in second method, graphical representation, we represent a AC quantity in graphical representation, means by drawing its nature of waveform. This is the nature of waveform, how we draw. This is called as a graphical representation. So moving to the third and last method of representation, this is called as a phasor representation. Means if there are two or more quantities then how we can represent in a phasor manner? It is called as a phasor representation. So phasor representation is drawn by a arrow. As you can see in this equation, there are two equations, one of voltage and second of current. So we represented here in Vm sin omega t in Im sin omega t. But in here phasor representation, we represent that quantity in terms of a arrow. As you can see, we have used a voltage as reference axis. On reference axis, you can see this is the arrow. We have shown voltage with a arrow, and then we have shown the current with another arrow. And you can see in this equation, I of t is equals to Im sin omega t minus phi, means the current is lagging behind the voltage by an angle of phi degree. One more thing you should remember, that according to the magnitude, according to maximum value, the size of arrow changes. Means, consider if the voltage is more, then the size of this arrow should be more, and if the current value is less than the voltage value, then size of arrow should be small. So according to the magnitude, peak magnitude, the size of arrow changes. Consider, for example, the voltage is 230 volt, and we have represented the arrow of voltage in this as this length. And consider the current is 5 ampere and lagging the voltage by some degree, then we should show the current with a smaller arrow, because we have considered the current as a 5 ampere. So its a magnitude as it is small, then its length should also be small. But in this image it is shown with the same length, so it should not happen. It should be such that according to its magnitude. For example, as I said, if the voltage is 230 and the current is 5 ampere, then length of voltage should be more and length of current arrow should be small. So this is the representation of a single phase voltage and current. In this representation, voltage is at reference angle because V of t is equals to Vm sin omega t. There is no plus or minus after the omega t, that's why it is on reference axis. But as you can see in current, I of t is equals to Im sin omega t minus phi. Minus phi means it is lagging the voltage by some angle, that's why it is minus phi. Consider the another case. If I write I of t is equals to Im sin omega t plus 5, then current will be in the above the reference axis, then it would be here. Okay, if the sin omega t plus minus phi, then it will be here. If it is omega t plus 5, then it will be above the x-axis, it will be somewhere here. So you should keep in mind. So talking about the three-phase phasor representation, you know that in three phase there are three phases called as RYB, that is red, yellow, and blue. So all these phases are 120 degree apart from each other. Means if the VR voltage starts from the 0 degree, then Y voltage starts after 120 degree of R voltage. Then after 120 degree of Y voltage, B voltage starts. So this is the representation of three phase voltages. As you can see, voltage starts at 0 degree of VR voltage in R phase, that's why it is taken as a reference. Then voltage Vy, it starts later 120 degree, that's why it is 120 degree lagging. And then B voltage, VB voltage, it is total 240 degree away from the red VR voltage or 120 degree away from VY voltage. This is the phasor representation of three phase supply voltage. So thank you. As in this lecture we have seen generation of AC voltage and then phasor representation of AC voltage. So in next lecture we are going to discuss voltage and current response of RLC component to the AC supply. Thank you.